video games kill creativity. You talked about this, right? Because all the quick fix, no decision, no creativity needed activities that we associate with sort of modern day video games. Not all of them, but in general, right? Because I think for the most part, video games tend to be mostly linear experiences, right? And because they train players to think linearly as well, right? If you think about it, challenges in video games are usually presented with clear sort of objectives and a clear sort of path to resolve those challenges.
It's the epitome of the sandbox water slide combination, right?
Right, like, oh, the door doesn't open because it's locked. Go find the right colored key, bring it to the door, done, right? That's like 40% of gameplay in games, right?
Yeah.
And while we're doing this, the players are sort of guided on a predetermined route. There might be a few of them, but they're all sort of predetermined, right? And the available game mechanics in the game sort of dictate the specific solutions for all the problems, right? Oh, you either get the key, right? Or you go and wear the uniform and trick the guard into opening the door for you.
Right.
Right. Those are the two things you can do, right?
Yep.
And this is very different from that open-ended nature of our TTRPGs that we play, right? Like video games have limited interactivity. Video games often, I don't know, they limit your, we're talking about that predefined interactions and solutions to challenges. Like there's only so many you can do. The developers might be ambitious and give you like 5, but that's it.
Yeah.
Out of that, there is no possible way, unless you're like glitching and stuff like that. Awesome. Right?
Yeah.
Speedrunners, awesome. Oh, don't even get me started with those.
They're amazing.
But I think in terms of TTRPGs, us as players and DMs, we've sort of become accustomed to this limited range of problem-solving options, right? So we tend not to think beyond the mechanics and the systems in D&D and our TTRPGs, right? And we struggle to break away from that mindset of having this predetermined set of actions, right? Like, oh, I need to use one of my actions, right, to in battle. Has to be attack, has to be dodge action, right? Or maybe cast a spell, maybe hide if you have the right class, something like that, right? We don't think outside of those sort of solutions, right? And speaking of combat,
very Final Fantasy-esque, right?
Right.
Yep.
Right. My turn.
Yeah.
Your turn. Oh,
what do you want to do? One of these four
item,
things. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's video games. And that's how we sort of approach our D&D games. Unfortunately, we tend to have that sort of box on us already. Another thing I think that video games do is they have this overemphasis on combat. Like, it's combat for everything. For every problem, you have to fight. Oh, the door's locked? You need a key. Go kill that guard who has a key, pick it up, and then open the door.
If there is no conversation option.
No. But it's the boss. You have to kill him.
Yeah.
Because video games are like this, though, us as video game players who also play D&D, we also have been trained to default to this combat solution for everything. And it is. Like, I find myself doing this. I'm like, why? I don't need to. Why don't I just talk to him? Why do my first thing I think of is to kill that dude? Or I'm going to steal that ring instead of like actually buying it like a moral character that I am supposed to be role-playing.
Right.
Right?
Kill, steal, seduce.
Right. Why? Because those are the things that video games teach us to do, right? Like we don't want to negotiate. We don't think about stealth. We don't think about like creative non-combat solutions to any of these problems, unless we have to. Like that's like secondary, third, tertiary. Like it's just way down there on the options. And unfortunately, that sort of limits the richness and the variety of the narratives that we can sort of have in D&D. Because that's what's great about D&D is that you can do all this stuff. But if we don't, because we've been trained not to by video games,
And it's often a facepalm moment, right? When somebody goes, well, why didn't you do this? And you're like, I didn't even think of that. Why'd you do that? Oh, I didn't even know I could do that. Yeah.
Especially for when you're a new D&D player.
Yes.
Or a new DM even.
Yes.
Right?
Oh, the analysis paralysis is tough to get over when you're a new player.
Yeah.
What can I do? Anything.
But so it is a problem. I really think it is a problem. But you might be saying, Sean, okay, so then what?
Okay, Sean, okay, so what?
Yeah, I'll tell you what.
Okay.
Right? I think we need to actively encourage our players to think outside the box. Of course. Right? And explore those unconventional solutions to those encounters or the challenges that we sort of place before them as DMs, right? And when they do, we want to reward that creativity and provide sort of that positive outcomes for inventive approaches. Like, maybe it's not super inventive, but it's still outside the box. I'm going to give you some leeway for this. I'm not just going to crush down that spirit of creativity that you've got going inside you. Right? Because I think a lot of DMs, your first instinct is to do that. Like, that's ridiculous. That would never happen. Instead of thinking, that might be fun because it is out there. Maybe because it's so surprising, it might just work this time. Right? You can roll for it. Instead of me actively trying to sabotage that creativity that you've right?
Yeah.
Oh, so painstakingly broken free from your prison of video game training.
That's why yes and is like the basic thing.
Right?
But it's so hard to get there.
Yes.
We have whole episodes.
And I mentioned before, this kind of thing isn't limited to just players either. DMs, you're also guilty of this. You need to think outside the box when you're designing your encounters and storylines, right? Because if you design an encounter where you only have 4 different solutions predetermined, that's all the players are going to do. If you say, I'm going to design this, and what the players are going to do is fight and kill, and that's how they get through it. Then the players try to do something creative and you crush it. Of course they're not going to be creative. Right? So we got to catch ourselves when we're doing this too, because even as DMs, we haven't escaped this horrible training. Right? This brainwashing, it really kind of is. It's not on purpose, I don't think.
No, you're right.
It's just the conditioning of the existence that is video games in our lives, right? And if your DM is sort of stuck there and you as a player are watching our show, you can try your best to solve those straightforward encounters that they design with innovative solutions, right? And do it by the book and do it awesome. And this will force your DM to get creative.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
Or be a jerk about it.
It's one of the things that you just have to learn is being reactively creative as a DM, right?
Yeah.
That spontaneous creation, going by your gut and the will of the dice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Learning to let go a lot of times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you as a player want to train your DM to be more creative, you just start being more creative with your solutions that you come up with.
Wouldn't it be handy if we had a whole episode on how to train your DM? Yeah. Dang, I think we do.
So as DMs, let's design encounters with non-combat resolutions, right? We can sort of showcase to our players diplomacy, investigation, how to be sneaky, like actually sneaky without just being criminals, right? And as players, we can attempt those non-combat solutions as well, right? For example, making friends with Byron's thugs. He tried to do that.
I tried to make friends with my thugs?
No. Me and the other bard went in the tavern and those thugs...
The other bard and I.
Huh?
Keep going.
I'm not a bard. I just roleplay one. I did say it at Holiday Express last night, though.
Oh, dang.
Not sponsored, call us. But...
Use the travel points. Yeah, go.
I now know, in the aftermath, you had sort of envisioned that encounter with those thugs being sort of just really antagonistic and picking a fight and having a fight.
Absolutely.
In the tavern.
Yep.
But me and the other bard, both eloquence bards, by the way.
I made a mistake.
Decided that we didn't want to fight. We just wanted to be friends.
Yep.
And of course the roles were there.
Of course.
Right? So it was a non-combat solution to an encounter that was designed to be combat.
Shout out to Zizkander, wherever he
may
be.
I think he did. I don't know.
No spoilers.
Who knows?
Who knows?
You did, or is he? Cha. So, so yeah, when we as DMs, when we go and we make these encounters, sure, have a couple of solutions in mind so you're prepared for them, like the big ones, right? But allow players to shape the narrative through their decisions, right? As you did, very, very nicely and very gracefully, right? You didn't try to force us into combat. No. Obviously, we didn't want to.
Correct.
Right? Because that lets us as the players write the story.
Yes.
Right? And it sort of creates that sense of agency that we all love so much about D&D. And that's what it's all about, right? And like you want to break those expectations of a predetermined path, right? Like that what should I be doing now is that sort of inner feeling in your mind, like, what should I be doing? That comes from video games. Because video games tell you what you should be doing all the time. And if you're feeling that inside, it's your, as a player, it's your sign to be like, no, that's my video game training. You should think about, what do I want to do?
Interesting. Okay.
What do I want to do? Not what should I be doing. You should be doing exactly what you want to do. You just got to figure out what that is.
Okay.
Right? And then be creative about it.
Yeah.
Because the core strength of D&D is that it's collaborative, right? And that it's improvisational.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And just because we come and have all this baggage from video games doesn't mean that it's okay to waste the opportunity that D&D and TTRPGs give us to be collaborative and to be improvisational, right? So really, it's time to free your mind, right? And have even more fun, right? By sort of recognizing that we have been trained and that we do need to sort of actively work against that conditioning to really take full advantage of roleplay in D&D.